Hello everyone, today we'll recap a 2024 thriller romantic movie named Miller's Girl. We meet Cairo, a young girl who has been left alone in her family's Tennessee home while her parents work abroad. Despite her isolation, Cairo finds comfort in writing and navigates her way to school each day, dressed in a miniskirt and high heels. At school, she encounters Jonathan Miller, their teacher, who has given up on his dreams of becoming an author. Despite their age difference, Jonathan takes on a paternal role in Cairo's life, but Cairo secretly admires him. When Cairo arrives early for class, Jonathan asks her to start reading the books they'll study for the semester, and he's surprised to learn that she's already read all 12 required books. They discuss literature until Winnie, Cairo's friend and Jonathan's repeating student, arrives and invites Cairo to eat with her. After the girls leave, Jonathan becomes curious about Cairo's reading choices and decides to check out the books she's been reading. The books on her desk. Her friend Boris unexpectedly arrived and playfully snatched a book that Jonathan was reading. Boris then proceeded to read a suggestive passage out loud, despite Jonathan's attempts to stop him. Jonathan was taken aback to see that Cairo had his own book. Upon returning home, Jonathan found his wife, Beatrice, engrossed in her work on the computer and unable to chat with him. Jonathan later called Beatrice to share his excitement about a student reading his book, only to have their conversation interrupted by a call from Beatrice's co-worker, Amy. Despite the interruption, Jonathan and Beatrice flirted over the phone and enjoyed some drinks together, with things starting to heat up between them before being interrupted once again by Amy's call. The next day, Jonathan confided in Boris about his disappointing weekend and how Amy's interruptions had interfered with a romantic moment with Beatrice. As they chatted, they noticed Cairo approaching, and Jonathan, still feeling agitated, watched her closely as she greeted them. Despite his growing frustration, Jonathan tried to engage in light conversation with Cairo to distract himself from his feelings of sexual frustration. When Winnie pretended to accidentally drop her belongings in the locker room, Boris saw through her ploy and approached her, asking about her needs. Realizing she was trying to seduce him, Cairo told Winnie she was bold. Winnie attempted to give Cairo ideas for an essay, but Cairo found them too ordinary. Winnie then suggested Cairo try to charm their teachers for essay material, and although Cairo felt confused due to their age difference, Winnie reassured her it was okay. Winnie suggested Jonathan would be a good choice for Cairo's first date since he seemed nice and gentle, and Cairo wouldn't feel uncomfortable. Winnie's playful persistence piqued Cairo's interest, and she continued to tease Cairo, mentioning Jonathan's longing looks at her, leaving Cairo feeling embarrassed and flustered. As time passed, Cairo's interest in sex grew, and Cairo's desire became overwhelming. She yearned to experience it fully in class, and her eyes frequently sought out Jonathan, signaling her attraction to him. One day, Jonathan quietly approached her from behind and whispered for her to meet him in his office after class. In Jonathan's office, he conversed with Boris and invited him to join him and his wife for dinner. Boris agreed, and they had a great time dancing before departing. Cairo happened to catch Jonathan dancing, and after Boris left, Jonathan tried to mimic Boris's dance moves. They shared a laugh, and then they discussed Winnie. Jonathan expressed his support for their friendship and proceeded to discuss Cairo's living situation. The teacher also praised Cairo for her outstanding work in a recent writing piece, being impressed by her ability to remember certain lines from her writing. Acknowledging Cairo's talent, the professor requested her to write a short story in the style of her favorite author, believing that excelling in this task would ensure her success for the entire semester. Viewing it as a great opportunity, Cairo eagerly accepted the challenge. She surprised her professor by revealing that she had read his books, leaving him speechless. Quoting a part of his book that she had memorized, Cairo delighted the professor, who confessed that the quoted book was his first, holding special significance for him. Miller admitted that he had not written anything in a while, explaining that his life had become ordinary since getting married, lacking the inspiration for a new book. Cairo, believing he was simply uninspired, challenged him to rediscover that spark and start writing again. Inviting Cairo to meet over the weekend to further discuss the short story, Jonathan unexpectedly surprised Cairo from behind during their conversation. They reflected on how they had been honing their literary skills together, while a poet named Elliot performed. Cairo stole glances at Jonathan, who listened attentively. Later, as they critiqued Elliot's poetry and exchanged thoughts, Cairo offered Jonathan a cigarette, which he accepted. Cairo decides to refresh her look on a new school day, and she brings coffee to Boris and Miller, boosting their confidence as they play and share a cigarette. Cairo tells Winnie that although their professor didn't comment on her new appearance, she knows he appreciated it. Later, Cairo approaches Miller with the idea of writing her story in the style of Henry Miller, a famous author known for his works on love and sex. Miller is hesitant, fearing it may cause trouble at school, but Cairo believes it will add excitement to her story. After some thought, Miller trusts Cairo and allows her to proceed. Meanwhile, Jonathan's phone buzzes with a text from his wife, inviting him on a weekend getaway. Cairo approaches to discuss her short story, but Jonathan, lost in thought about his wife, quickly approves it without much consideration. When they're alone, he playfully teases Cairo, suggesting she's trying to seduce her professor, and Cairo playfully exaggerates, pretending to mimic Kyo's actions, much to her friend's amusement. As Cairo searches for her missing phone, Jonathan's plans are repeatedly disrupted by Amy's persistent calls. To his surprise, he hears Cairo's voice when his phone rings, and he learns that she accidentally placed her phone in his bag. During their conversation, Jonathan's wife expresses frustration over their postponed weekend getaway and offers to return Cairo's phone to her house. Jonathan quickly agrees, despite the incoming rain, and sets out to deliver the phone. As he arrives, a heavy downpour begins, and Jonathan spots Cairo walking outside in a seductive dress, their eyes locking in a moment of intense attraction. As she approached him in the pouring rain, overwhelmed by passion, they shared a romantic embrace and kiss. After their intense moment, Jonathan's thoughts were consumed by Cairo, but she suddenly sent him her midterm test, snapping him out of his reverie. Jonathan's wife urged him to leave her alone, and he retreated to a small house near theirs, where he printed out Cairo's finished work and began reading it immediately. The captivating story with its adult themes left Jonathan engrossed and excited, fueling his desire for Cairo. Unable to resist, Jonathan removed his pants and pleasured himself. The following day, Cairo arrived in class dressed in an enticing outfit, but Jonathan's attitude towards her had noticeably changed. He didn't greet her with the same warmth as before, sensing something was amiss. Cairo asked Jonathan if everything was all right, and he expressed his disappointment with the explicit content of her writing. Cairo tried to explain that she had rejected the explicit content, but Jonathan remained unmoved. He refused to listen to her explanations and ultimately decided to reject both her work and their relationship. Jonathan's critique of Cairo's work and his dismissal of her genuine emotion sparked her anger, leading her to lash out at him, calling his work average and dull. Cairo's frustration intensified, and she dared Jonathan to give her poor grades on her tests. Enraged, Cairo hurled insults at Jonathan, who remained unyielding in their master-student dynamic. After a tense exchange, Cairo left the classroom and dropped off her story at a school administrator's office. Later, Miller shared his difficult day with his wife, detailing his encounter with Cairo and her writing. His wife became intrigued, leading to a heated discussion between the couple that inadvertently involved Boris. Meanwhile, Cairo sought solace in a drink with her friend Winnie, playfully deciding to take teasing photos to share with Boris. Just then, Jonathan received a call from the principal's office, accused of having an inappropriate relationship with Cairo. He denied the allegation, reassuring Beatrick that it wasn't true, but she warned him of potential consequences, including job and marriage loss if the allegations were found to be true. The next day, Cairo was absent from class, meeting with the principal instead. Meanwhile, Jonathan continued teaching, visibly upset by Cairo's absence. After class, she approached Jonathan, expressing her appreciation for Cairo and how much she meant to her. Despite Winnie's attempts to make him feel guilty, Jonathan remained unmoved and unwilling to engage in any discussion about the matter. As Cairo's plans began to unfold, the teacher was called to a meeting with the school management, where both Cairo and Professor Miller were questioned extensively about their interactions during classes and any close encounters outside of school. Cairo's responses strongly implied a connection between them, causing the professor to feel concerned about his professional future and reputation. He found himself in a difficult position as a result of Cairo's statements, and upon finding them unchanged, the principal decided to suspend Jonathan. Boris approached him after leaving the office, expressing his disappointment and advising Jonathan to be mindful of his limits to avoid further escalating the situation. After delivering his message, Boris left to allow Jonathan some privacy. Upon Jonathan's return home, he reluctantly informed Beatrick that he had been suspended. Despite her quick inquiry about the reason, he initially denied any wrongdoing, only admitting to giving special treatment to Cairo. Beatrick remained skeptical and persistently questioned him until he finally confessed. When asked if he had romantic feelings for Cairo, Jonathan hesitated and ultimately could not deny it. This admission led to a heated argument between them, resulting in hurtful words being exchanged. Beatrick, feeling furious, stormed out and expressed her desire for a divorce. Meanwhile, Jonathan warned Cairo about the potential consequences of her actions, including the risk of him losing his job. Cairo, however, dismissed these concerns, viewing her actions as a significant achievement, even mentioning it in her college essay. She explained to Winnie that this was her way of retaliating against Jonathan, as he did not hold her in high regard. Cairo's essay vividly portrayed the possible repercussions for Jonathan's relationship with her, and as she concluded her writing, the story came to an end. Please like and subscribe for more video like this. Thanks for watching.